Hi, Billy Glisson with PowerCore 360. Today's video we're going to focus on volleyball athletes, specifically blockers. Blockers commonly go in the weight room and do one of a couple different common exercises to increase their power and their speed to jump up into a blocking position. We'll talk about those two exercises. More importantly, I'm going to show you the one exercise they should do prior to doing either of those exercises to help them jump higher and protect their back in the process. All right, so today we're going to talk about the importance of lumbopelvic stability for a volleyball athlete. And today we're going to work with Greta, and Greta is a fitness trainer. And to start with, she's going to be a volleyball blocker, so she's going to be on the front row. So I'm going to ask her to get into a position like she was getting ready to block. And so she's going to load down in her hips, hands are loaded, and she's going to go up into that position and block the ball, which is trying to come over the net. Her objective is real simple. Don't let the ball fall on your side of the net because it's a point for the bad guys, right? So go ahead and get in that position again. Load down, bring your hands up over the net. And you're going to contract and hold right there. And you're going to keep the ball from coming across there. That's the movement we want to train. But we want to talk about how would we actually train that. So, Greta, I'm going to start with you. If you're in the gym, what kind of exercise do you see commonly that people are doing weightlifting-wise to get better with using their hips?
Like a squat, like a back squat, front squat, RDL, different movements like that. Okay,
cool. So let's choose an RDL. So grab that stick behind you. We're going to pretend that's your Olympic bar. And let's go through a double-legged RDL. RDL stands for Romanian deadlift. So let's go ahead and do that. But in fact, I want you to do it the way you see it commonly being done in the gym. So go ahead and show me that. Okay. So that's maybe like a straight leg deadlift. Okay, keep going. And as you're doing that, what's some of the common complaints you hear from in the fitness world, people in the gym lifting, doing an RDL or something like that? What do they commonly come to you and complain about?
Their lower back hurting.
Okay, their lower back hurting. Why do you suppose the lower back hurts?
Because they're not hip hinging.
Yeah, they're hinging at their lower back instead of their hips. Yeah. Now your back is real strong, but your low back's really designed to be stable, right? Yeah. And your hips, your hip joint, you've got big muscles around it, your quads, your hip flexors, your glutes, your hamstrings. Those are big muscles, and your hips are much more capable of creating much bigger forces. Yeah. And what we want to really have happen then is we want you to hinge at your hip. So do me a favor and hinge at your hip. Okay, and come back up. How would I know if you were hinging at your hip? If I was looking from the side, how would I know if I was an observer in the gym or if I was you watching someone? What's something you could do with a stick just to kind of teach them how to know if they were hinging from their hips?
So keeping it behind you.
Yeah.
Holding it one hand by your head, one on your lower back, and holding it against your butt and head.
Yeah. So keep your head against the stick, keep your butt against the stick. And what I want you to do now is to go ahead and do your RDL movement. And that's going to, if we keep our head and butt against the stick, now all of a sudden that motion changes, right? Because now we're actually forcing our body to hinge at the hips. We're getting a little bit more out of the knee and a little bit at the ankle. So repeat that for me if you would. And there's nothing wrong with, go ahead and bend further forward. Just keep your head against the butt, head against the stick and butt against the stick, okay? So you can actually even lean almost 90 degrees as long as you hinge at your hip. That's fine. Now when we do that, we're working glutes, right? It's a hip exercise. We're working hamstrings, part of the posterior chain, the back side. And the back muscles are working, but they're working kind of statically to support the upper body weight, okay? I'm going to say to you that that's a great exercise for a person in the gym to get stronger on their glutes, their hamstrings, and their back statically. I'm going to suggest to you, and I'm going to show you in a little bit, that I don't think it's the best exercise for a blocker to work with, right? Even though it works on the hip hinge. Yeah. And actually, one of the ways I'm going to do that is I'll put that stick back at your back. And I'm going to play volleyball coach here for just a second, okay? So go ahead and you've got your hand behind your neck and behind your lower back, very good. Keep that in contact and go ahead and go a little lower for me. Keeping that, there you go. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Freeze right there. Where are your eyes?
Down on the ground.
Down on the ground. So as a volleyball coach, what do you suppose the coach is saying to this athlete? Hey, I don't want you to do what? I want you to hinge at your hips, but I don't want to do this where you're losing contact with your eyes, you're visually losing contact with the ball. So maybe that's not the best pattern, okay? There might be a better exercise, right? What do you think a better exercise might be instead of loading like this to your hips? What's another way we could load through your hips?
A push press.
Yeah, like a push press. So why don't you show me that? Let's pretend now that we either have a bar in the front here, it could be dumbbells, could be whatever, right? And now I want you to go down and go ahead and load back into your hips, okay? Now we're in a much better position because your eyes are up, your head's up, and in fact, when you drive up through your hips and take your hands up, that's the pattern of blocking. So if I'm working with an athlete, I'm going to train movements, and I'm really not that concerned about what muscles are working, right? I just want to train that movement, and if I do that movement against resistance or against load, I'm going to work all the right muscles, hopefully in the right sequence, to make that movement or that sports skill pattern happen, okay? Yeah. With that all being said, I'm going to actually come to you and say both of those are good exercises for different reasons, but it's not the first exercise I would do with an athlete. If I was working with you as a blocker, I'm going to actually suggest to you that I'm going to work a lower abdominal muscle first. And I'm going to tell you the reason why is we're going to talk about what I said in the introduction is lumbopelvic stability. Now, what does that word mean? That's anatomical terms. Lumbo means lumbar, and if you'll hand me that spine model behind you. Really quickly, real quick anatomy lesson. Here's your pelvis, butt muscles would sit back here, so here's the back of the head. Your lumbar spine are these vertebrae on the bottom, and when we talk about lumbopelvic stability, lumbo meaning lumbar, it's the lumbar area, your low back area. Pelvic meaning your pelvis, right? And stability actually means control. And really what we're looking for, where I'm going to start with you as an athlete, as a volleyball blocker, and really with any athlete I work with, it's the first thing I want them to have control of, is their ability to move their pelvis and their lumbar spine together. So if you were doing an RDL and you had that stick at your back, right? And you were bending over with the stick at your back, the hip's actually doing the hinging and the lumbar spine is moving with the hip and pelvis. That's lumbopelvic stability, right? That's what we're looking for. When you went into your push press, same thing. You loaded a little bit differently, but as you came up, it was your ankle, knees, and hips flexing and then extending, but the pelvis and the lumbar spine, lumbopelvic stability, was really good. I'm going to show you, well, actually, let's talk about why that's important. Number one, if you learn to have good lumbopelvic stability, your control there, a couple things will happen. If you're blocking, you'll jump faster off the ground, you'll jump higher off the ground. If you're in the gym weightlifting, you'll lift more weight. In your world, in the fitness world, they'll have less back pain because they're going to be hinging at their hip, right? And not hinging at their lower back. That's the why. So it's part of it is performance. Another part of the why is pain. If I don't want back pain, if I'm an athlete, nobody wants back pain in the fitness world, in the healthy world. As an athlete, I don't want pain either. I want to be in the sport and perform and not have any back pain or anything else. So that's the why. How do we do it? And this week we're going to talk about what we call the transverse abdominus, or we'll just keep it simple, call it the lower abs. And so I'm going to show an exercise, the first exercise I would do with you or any athlete, to activate or engage or turn on your lower abs. And then we'll take that back up into a standing posture, into weightlifting, into blocking, and show how it would actually work there. So if you would, just lay down on the ground like you're going to do a crunch. And your feet are up towards your rear end. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your fingers, and you're just going to palpate and find the outside of your pelvis. So what she's doing is she's laying here, she's taking her fingers and feeling for the front side of the pelvis here, and then she's moving her hands just inside of that. What I want her to do basically is contract her lower abdominal muscles, just the lower ones. And to contract them means just to activate them, and so she's going to sense with her fingers, she's going to pull her ab muscles like her belly button down towards the floor. We want to make sure that it's not her belly pushing up, right? That your abs will turn on, but that's not the direction. So her lower abs are pulling in, belly button down towards the spine. Her low back ought to actually be pushing into the floor. As she's doing that, her upper abdominals actually ought to be relaxed here, right? So I want the lower abs on, and I'm going to have her hold that for 5 seconds, and she needs to be able to breathe while she's doing this. That means she can turn on her lower abs, and her diaphragm, which is one of the main breathing muscles, can do their work. And I'll have her relax. With athletes, I'll probably do initially 4 or 5 reps of this when we start a workout. We'll go through a dynamic warm-up, and one of the first things I'm doing is kicking on their lower abs. because no matter what the sport, whether they're running, jumping, hitting, kicking, punching, they're going to do it faster. They're going to do it with more power, more speed, more strength, and they're going to have to do a lot less. They're going to have a lot less back pain or experience no back pain if they do it this way. All right, so turn it on again. Belly button's going down in, sucking down in towards the spine. Low back's pushing down in against the floor. You're breathing. We're going to add one other thing to it. Your pelvic floor, there's muscles on the bottom of your pelvis, right? So what I'm going to ask her to do down here is that she's holding her lower abs in and breathing. I want her to take the muscles on the pelvic floor and just squeeze them like she was trying not to go to the bathroom. She's got to do this and she's going to breathe. She's going to hold it for 5 seconds. And basically what happens is we're getting now control the muscles, transverse abs on the front. Those muscles wrap all the way around to the spine. And then with the pelvic floor, those muscles on too. Now we've got lumbopelvic stability. Relax for a few seconds. Normally then I would do five reps of this, just activating it, okay? So from there I'm going to have you stand up. I'm going to have you grab your stick like you're going to do an RDL again. And just standing tall here, what I want you to do is turn those muscles on. And so she shouldn't have to feel, she might if it's her first time doing it, but after a while, after doing the reps, an athlete should be able to feel how to turn those on. So she's going to draw her abs in, right? She's going to breathe. And now I want her to hold that in as she goes through a deadlift motion, right? And what I'm looking for as she does this is I want to see, as she bends and hinges back from her hips, I want to see her low back move with her hips. And if at any point in time those get disconnected and she gets a little disconnected, I'm going to stop her. Go ahead and continue. I'm going to stop her about right there because for my eye, when she goes any lower than that, the hips and pelvis is stopped and her back is starting to do the work. So go ahead and go back up. Lower abs stay on. She's breathing, stopping right there and going back up. So she's driving her hips back, driving them forward the whole time her transverse abs are on, okay? Now we set a better exercise for volleyball block would actually be a push press. So let's get ready to do a push press, but before we go back down into a loaded position on the hips, turn the lower abs on, keep them on through this exercise if you would. So go ahead and load for me, keep them on, drive your hips up, drive your hands up, cool. Keep them on, drive it up, and now drive it up faster, but keep your abs on. Okay, awesome. So doing it that way, these exercises, whether we're actually in the gym, actually working on blocking training on the court, or in the weight room trying to get strong, or we're just working in the fitness world, right? We want to actually turn on the lower abs, the transverse abdominus. When that happens, the pelvis and the low back will actually move together. She'll generate more power, not only in this case for blocking, but if she was running, jumping, hitting, or doing else, her performance is going to be better. Her low back's not going to hurt, or it shouldn't hurt at all, because we're loading in the right places. The big joint, the muscles are all working to create that movement. If you like this video, please like us down below, subscribe to our channel. If you want further information about our products, go to PowerCore360.com.